Okay, so this one's going to be a different one. It's going to be, I don't really concentrate much on these in my channel, but it's going to be a relationship video. Not like, but there's so many of them on the internet, I'm not going to have a big whiteboard out, you know. I don't plan these videos out as much as Braden Stegler does. I get a kick out of that guy. I really like him. He got this whole whiteboard and stuff. I don't have whiteboard because I'm a voice in the wilderness. I'm a little different. I am in the wilderness. It's just pretty, you know, out there. So, about a relationship. And as so you do know, this is going to be a personal experience and stuff. I'm going to share some stuff that I did in previous videos, but I want you to know up front, no, I'm not in a relationship, okay? So I'm just going to share with you what I've had to go through healing and preparing myself to be in a spot where if God brings the right person, I can manage it, okay? This is going to be that kind of video. And I want to tell you up front because a lot of people don't like these videos, but this is what happens. So, I'm not going to go into great details on it. As I said, I have tons of videos on my channel about my addiction, my past, you know, how I screwed up and all that. And that's, you know, that's on there. Feel free to watch those. And I even had a real powerful one as my testimony. It's my most recent one. If you haven't watched that, watch that. Because it is, like I said 2 times. If you haven't seen that video, I would advise watching it if you want a deeper understanding of me and being right into just how deep into that dark pit I was and how God pulled me out. And it's going to be about relationships. So, what is so important? One is healing. Okay? And this is going to have a broad term. Healing is basically you're healing from past trauma, such as you were wronged by somebody, or you were betrayed, your addiction to corn. It is healing from all this before you get into a relationship. I've had to do a lot of this healing. Now, as a guy, not only did I have a 20-some year addiction to corn, but I was rejected a lot. Even going through school and throughout most of my life, I was never, you know, accepted by people. I would approach girls and they would have no interest in me. Of course, when I look back at the time, I really didn't have anything to, you know. So after, you know, being rejected and just smacked over the head as being called a loser enough times, I just said, forget it. I'm not going to bother. And that's when the, you know, addiction really picked up, and I turned to video games and corn to numb the pain, and I did that for many years. That was my coping. That's how I coped. That was before I got it. I became that guy that if I could destroy relationships, and I became conceited and basically obsessed with myself. I said, screw it then. I don't need a woman. I'm just going to be solo. That's where the dangerous thing comes in, is a red pill, which I got into. Before that was MGTOW. Now, people who may not know, they know that movement, but if you don't, MGTOW is men going their own way, which is men that are basically similar to the red pill, but they're basically men that decide to check out of society, to go their own way and just enjoy their peace by themselves, make money, do what they want, and just live their way. Which, as a child of God, if you are a man and you are called to a life of singleness, that is great. Okay, that is, you know, a fine lifestyle. But if you're called to marriage, which you will, not soon enough, is that in the Bible there's a lot of passages about it and being prepared for it and being called to it. Very few people are called to singleness. You're supposed to be single for a season until you meet that spouse and be married, but the gift of singleness is what I believe a rare gift, okay? Not everybody has it. Now, if you have problems controlling your lust, like even though you're on, you know, this, you know, SR, and you're just, you know, quite a bit of controlling your, lust, and you're not looking at corn, but you still have a very high drive of wanting a partner, even though you're not looking at corn, and you're not doing it for the superficial reasons of just hooking up, then yeah, it's part of healing, and that is good to have that, because that means God is aligning your desires to having a wife. And if you're not beating your meat, you'll have more energy and more focus to work on the mission for the kingdom, and you'll be able to make more money. Okay? It's people say you get more drive on it. It's true, you do. And also, relationship is second, besides healing, is being honest with your partner. Okay? Clear communication. Okay? Clearly communicating what you want in the relationship. Boundaries is a third one, which I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, number 2 is, as I said, being honest. Clear communication. Okay? I didn't move that up to number 1 because I think your healing in your past and overcoming addictions is more important before you even think of getting in a relationship. Once you get that under control with God's help and you've repented of it and you have that under pretty good management, then I would pursue a relationship. And so that's being honest about your past. Like if you've had multiple partners, or if you've been a playboy D-bag, and that's what your past was, if you're serious about this feminine, godly woman that God puts there, you're in a relationship with, you got to be honest and bite that bullet and say, hey, I was not a good person. Okay, this is me, this is the past, but that was your past, which is dead. Because you're a new creation in God, you only have your present and your future. But you got to be honest with your partner. If that's something you had, and even the addiction, like, that's going to be an awkward conversation when I get to my partner. Not really awkward for me, because I have like tons of videos on my channel saying about my addiction, how God helped me heal and deal with it. So I don't have any embarrassment over it. It's like literally, hey, that's the past. I did it. I'm not proud of it. I'm moving on. And the same with relationship. This goes for guys and girls, is you have to have clear communication. And number 3 is what I was getting to, is called being honest. As I said, about your past. I think that was number 1. Anyways, number 3 is, are you ready? Is another one. Basically is, what's your financial situation like? Now, I'm not saying you have to be, richy rich. I'm not saying you have to have a ton of money in the bank, okay? I'm not saying that helps. If that's, your drive, you was young, you invested, you just got all this money. Guess what? Great for you, bro. Cool. You did good. But if you don't, I'm talking about at least having a savings account and having your feet under you where you can live financially, secure. Like, I'm okay. And as long as you have a good paying job, that is important. If you have that and that is settled, great. Then look for a relationship. And that's basically just making sure that you can take care of somebody. If, say, you're dating and you're paying for a date, great. But can you take care of that person? Can you keep you and your wife, or the girl that God's going to send you to be your wife, can you keep you two going when you're married as a wife? Does basically you have enough, and are you making enough money to keep a house, keep a kid if you have one, which inevitably will happen at some point. Most people will have a kid. And do you have enough to keep your wife and kid going? Because you may have to make sacrifices. I have a whole video on marriage about death of self, so feel free to check that one out. I've got a few of those. There's a lot of videos. Okay, so that was number 4, was financial and some balance. And number 5, what was number 5? I should really make a blackboard like Braden, write these down on a sheet of paper. But then again, it wouldn't be as authentic as I am. Off the script. I'm just trying to think what number 5 was. I got rambling on about financial security. And 5th, oh yes, the 5th one would be, are you ready to be married within a year to 2 years? Now, I say that because that is, as I said, there's a previous video I released before this, probably be out, but I'm just saying that as subjective to the individual. And basically that is the time frame a lot of Christians and basically mentors and stuff will tell you is like within a year to almost 2 years, you should know if you're going to marry that person. If you're not interested, you've had a godly relationship. I don't mean, making out, doing all this crap. I mean, sticking to your boundaries, working with this person, growing close to them, and not sleeping around or doing all sorts of stuff. Do you want to marry them? If you're not ready to marry within a year or two, you shouldn't be in a relationship, because within that time frame, you should be married. Because if not, you get attached to this person, and you may have your boundaries. Even the strongest guy, okay, and I mean this, the strongest boundaries, eventually your lust for that person is going to build up. And even if it's love, eventually you too, this is counting the woman, you will give into it. And it's better to be married than to burn with lust for each other. So, married. Now, there's some people like David Hammond who got married within 2 months. Like I said, subjective to the individual. Okay? That's just an example. There are people that date for, 5-6 months, they get married, and it works. That's great. It's God's timing, God's timetable. If God says, you're dating this woman, and through your relationship with God and talking to him, he says, hey, you've been going out 6 months, marry her. Guess what? If it is ordained by God and he tells you that, and everybody around you says, the ones you trust, your Christian advisors and stuff say, you should marry her, stuff, and they're, people you trust and don't want to just sabotage you, then I would move forward with marrying that person. But a year or two should be within that time frame of being married. If you're not being married within a year or two, and the relationship isn't really going anywhere like that, and you're not even contemplating marrying the person or see yourself married to them or having kids, break it off. Okay? Just break it off, because it's obvious that's not the one for you, and it's easier that way. But that's why also be upfront with everything in the first part of the relationship, is what I said at the beginning. Is like, be upfront and honest, but like, these are my boundaries. This is what I want in this relationship. I don't mean have an insane checklist, okay? She doesn't have to be a virgin, much as you like that, because guess what? Newsflash for you guys. There's very few of those around. I'm a male one, which I'm even rare. Trust me, I don't know why. But females, they're like unicorns, if you can find one like that. But I truly believe God has the power to bring that person to you. Now, why did I throw myself in there? Is because, one, I am not discredited from having a virgin or something, but also that's not my whole goal, is just to have a godly woman eventually and a wife. It's just, I'm going to be honest with her, is that yes, although I've never physically been with a woman, I have emotionally slipped around basically as a woman would physically. I've done emotionally by years of corn, hence the addiction, hence why I said number one is healing and trusting God. That is one of the main things in healing from that, because although I've never physically been with a woman, emotionally I've been with multiple women. I've been with, all sorts of weird twists. Like I said, I have a whole video on that and where I was, but yeah, basically emotionally, that's for guys. You've been with women just like she's been physically, and if she doesn't hold your, addiction against you, you shouldn't hold her past against her. Now, like I said, previous video about this, about relationships, I released. A guy at work asked me to make it for him. I'll release that one before this one, but I cover a lot of this in it. So those are 5 reasons for a relationship. Is 1, healthy, emotionally, psychologically, physically, and basically, are you good with God? 2, is it a calling? You will know if you're called to singleness or marriage as you walk with God. I thought I had the gift of singleness myself, but he's lining me more towards marriage. When that's going to happen, don't know. God's timetable. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not worrying about it. I'm advancing the kingdom, doing my mission, and following God. That's all I'm worried about, focusing on, and I'm enjoying being a single guy. Okay, I enjoy my single life. Yes, it may not be as exciting as others, but I'm out walking, getting in good health. Summer's here. I'm going to be camping, and it's just going to be freaking full bore this summer. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff. Yeah. 3 is your bank. Do you have enough to keep yourself and a woman going if you get married, your wife? Can you keep you both afloat if need be? Now, the way the economy is, it's a 2-person job, but even if that is for a short amount of time, you both have to have a job. Fine, but when you get a kid, and you bring a kid into that, if she is going to be a stay-at-home mom, and that's what she wants, and that's what you want her to be, you may have to get 2 jobs. Okay? You may have to step up to make more money to balance that out. Which is why I said it's best now as a single young guy to invest and save to build yourself. You see, you put yourself ahead of the 8 ball. Me, whereas I've waited so long and just lived my single life for many years not really thinking about a family. I'm behind the 8 ball when it comes to that. I got a good paying job and stuff, but still I'm behind the 8 ball, which I'm fixing. And number 4 was being honest. Maybe communication was number 2. Anyways, it was healing, communication. Then it was your being honest with your past. 4, your bank. And then 5 was within a year or 2. And this is just simple things to have. Like I said, it's subjective to the person. You are going to have your own designs on it. God's going to guide you a certain way. Nobody ever walks the same path. And you may meet a godly woman. You might, be like, hey, she's the one for me. I know it. God confirms it. People around you confirm it. And you could be married within 2 to 5 months. You could be David Hammond. Who knows? And I say him because it just wows my mind that he's married her in 2 months, but God gave him the go-ahead, and he had a lot of, growth in his life, and it's just amazing how he's just grown. It's like, wow, like that was amazing. Also, there's another one, Braden, who's in a relationship. I almost like Braden's content more. Not that it's, there, but just that I know Braden a little bit better than I know, I guess, David. I don't know Braden like face-to-face or terms like that, but just he's a pretty good guy to follow on YouTube if you want Christian content for singles. Those were a shout out to those guys, but they're just guys that I've watched, and I learned a lot from Braden, believe it or not. He's younger than me, but I am amazed at his growth and how much I learn from his videos, and I'm an older guy, and I'm learning. And it's just great. So, those are the 5 points. If you stuck to this long in the video, you heard a freaking plug, I guess, for the other guys, but feel free to like and subscribe if you want. And I will, this has been A Voice in the Wilderness, soldier, bond servant of Christ, signing off. Whenever you see this, have a blessed day or night. Stay safe in these dark and crazy times, and I will see you in the next one.